was kind of like this. The diet doesn't matter. There is nothing that can help with coronavirus. So just wait for like vaccine or something else. Until then, do social distancing and stuff like that. And it really hurts me. Like, I can't understand why they say that the diet, doesn't matter.
It's extraordinary. And finally, a senior professor in this country yesterday, who's the guy who set up the coronavirus app to test for symptoms, so he's a coronavirus expert, has said that diet and gut health are crucial risk factors in coronavirus severity.
As you guessed it, guys, you are on Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast. And what you just heard was a soundbite from my really fascinating interview with Matt Wright, a UK-based nutrition expert, researcher, data miner, director, and nutrition brain behind my favorite, hands down, project on the entire website, checkyourfood.com, where I check the nutrition profile of all the foods I put in my mouth. I have this practice when before designing meals for the day, I check in all of my meals on the website and I check that I eat all of my nutrients, and only then I make arrangements to make those foods, cook those foods, and eat them. So checkyourfood.com, the best place to get proper data about full nutrition content of your foods, and also learn why you need certain vitamins and minerals. So Matt Wright, he is the brain behind this project, the director of this project. And the interviewer that you're about to hear will tell you why it is important to eat well during this COVID-19 times, why it's important to care about your diet, about foods that you put in your mouth, on your plate, in your body, and why you don't hear often about nutritional recommendations for COVID-19 times to boost, to support your immune system, to fortify your immune system, to give it everything your immune system needs to fight COVID-19 or whatever other infection is out there. Now, I'm not saying, and Matt is not saying, we're not saying that any specific food or diet will cure you of COVID-19 or make you bulletproof, but what we are saying is that if you feed your immune system the right kinds of foods, the foods that deliver nutrients that our immune system needs to function, if you feed your immune system right, then you have much better chances to get sick less. And even if you do get sick, that I don't wish to anyone, then you recover much faster without any serious consequences. So you have much better chances to actually help our healthcare system if you feed your immune system properly. So tune in to our conversation and learn how to feed your immune system, why it's important to eat well during a pandemic. And also, after you listen to this interview, don't forget to check out the links to this episode, in the show notes, the links to Matt's blog, Why We Need to Eat Well During a Pandemic, where he writes about nutrients that our immune system needs and from which foods you can eat those nutrients. That is very important practical aspect of that. And then also check out the link that will lead you to the free download of a book, Boost Your Immune System, Fight COVID-19. It's a recipe book, actually. So it will teach you practically how to properly feed your immune system with simple foods, not with some superfoods that you can't get anywhere, especially right now when anything, it takes forever to get shipped. But most importantly, you don't need superfood to eat well, to feed well your immune system, to have the best chances to fight off COVID-19 or any other disease out there. Our immune system, guys, is still our best tool to fight off and protect ourselves from anything. So tune in, learn, and feed your immune system well.
Well, the police are patrolling constantly because, well, Brighton's a very young town and the teenagers keep getting together on the beach. So the police have to come along, break them up, move them on.
Yeah, same here actually. That's what police is doing, trying to keep people apart, even though with the Russian people, it's a little bit more complicated.
Yes, yes. Yeah. So how is it over there? Have you got a high infection rate or?
It actually really depends on the area. Like Moscow, St. Petersburg, they are highly populated and the density of population is really high. So they have more cases and it seems to be spreading faster. Where I am, like in Siberia, we have in my city, I think 20 confirmed cases so
Oh,
far.
really? Only that much? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, 400,000 people and only 25 people. So that I think pretty good. But again, the density of population here, for example, is 1 person per square kilometer. So,
Well, that's a bit different to England, yeah. Because is it a polluted city or is it quite clean?
I think it is quite clean.
Yeah.
We don't have much industry except that oil and gas, but it's outside of city a little bit, and I don't think it's polluting anything much really.
Because they've correlated the highest rates of infection is in the most polluted areas. Because we've already got lung issues. We've already got, so therefore the virus spreads goes pneumonic basically much quicker. So in London and all our industrial cities, it's much, much worse, and places in India and that sort of thing. But then the pollution has lifted so much, particularly nitrous oxide, that they think now that more lives will have been saved than will die of the virus because of the massive reduction in nitrous oxide in the atmosphere, which is a potential silver lining. Whether it will continue, because all the airlines are going, well, close to going bust in this, so we'll see.
Yeah. Anyhow, Matt, thank you very much for joining me again on Food School Podcast for our conversation about food and supporting our immune system during this time when it's really important. You are, just to give our listeners a little bit of information, you are the nutrition expert, nutrition brain behind one of my favorite websites on the web, nutrition websites, checkyourfood.com. That's where I'm constantly checking all of my foods for nutrition content. Anything else you'd like our listeners to know about you, about the project?
No, I mean, I'm really a sort of professional researcher. So I'm a bit of a scientist, but I've been researching for 20 years now. So I follow all the data and try and find the information within the data. And also we like to be regulated here because we work with food producers for them to make legitimate health claims. So we have to be European Food Safety Authority regulated on the health claims that can be made. Because really when I started this all off, it was out of frustration with the ocean of hearsay and misinformation. Far too much being attributed to onions. Onions will heal you of this, cure you of this, etc. So I drilled down and we together have drilled to get to the sort of hardcore, proper peer-reviewed, double-blind, placebo, randomized controlled trial science, the highest level of science. It's called Cochrane methodology as well, which is the meta-analysis of many studies. And so we pull from that, and we on the say the science of phytochemicals, which is emerging, like the chemicals in black currants and that sort of thing. We put the word may contributes to, because it's really, there haven't been the human trials done. And the thing is, science always starts in a test tube, and it goes to an animal, and then it goes to a human, and then it goes to multiple humans. And a lot of the phytochemical research is still in a test tube. Now, needless to say, we're not test tubes, and we're not mice. We're humans. So really, some phytochemicals like quercetin have been shown to be very strong for the immune system. And they have actually their human trial evidence for that. So we do highlight those area of phytochemicals. And obviously vitamins and minerals, that research has been going on for a good 150 years. And it's all been human research. We know what vitamin C does. We know what vitamin A does. We know. So that's kind of where we focus and try and keep the message as democratic as possible, if you like. We're just giving information. It's up to you if you want to adjust your diet, or because obviously some foods don't agree with some people. So if you're looking at the main nutrients to support your immune system, if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, obviously you're going to have different ingredients, but at least you know the nutrients. So that's what
Yeah.
we're trying, basically.
Yeah, and I really love that about your project because, yeah, there is no agenda, not the one I could notice, and you just give the data exactly as it is.
Yes, and we keep updating it with credible studies. The problem with journalism is they're always looking to sensationalize.
Mhm.
So you'll see an extract of a study, one study with 6 people at a university, and suddenly it's become being preached as gospel. And actually, that's not good enough. It's not good enough to then make a health claim or advise people that this is going to be very beneficial for mental health or physical health. So we're constantly filtering the ocean of information that arrives on a daily basis, really.
Yeah, there are so many studies coming out almost every day. First question that I wanted to start with is, sometimes, actually quite often, I hear from a lot of health authorities these days that goes kind of like this: the diet doesn't matter. There is nothing that can help with coronavirus. So just wait for like vaccine or something else. Until then, do social distancing and stuff like that. And it really hurts me. Like, I can't understand why they say that the diet, doesn't matter.
It's extraordinary. And finally, a senior professor in this country yesterday, who's the guy who set up the coronavirus app to test for symptoms, so he's a coronavirus expert, has said that diet and gut health are crucial risk factors in coronavirus severity. So finally, a credible professor said, look, if you get coronavirus, the way your body deals with it is dependent on your diet. And he also mentions gut health, obviously, because that's central to your immune system. Obviously, gut health and diet are interchangeable. So the message is out there, but I think traditionally, for hundreds of years, there's been this fear of crediting food with too much credibility. And I think that's the power of the pharmaceutical companies, the power of advertising, the power of vested commercial interest, if you like. There's not huge vested commercial interest in carrots. They're sold at £400 a ton. There's a colossal vested commercial interest in synthetic vitamin supplements, in minerals in isolation, and in pharmaceutical drugs that really mimic food. I mean, if you look at the receptors and the chain reactions and the enzyme reactions that come from pharmaceuticals, they're mimicking what we get in nature every day. And bear in mind, we evolved over many, many, many millennia with natural food. We didn't evolve with medicines other than plant. There's obviously this herbal medicine tradition as well, which is amazing. That's finally coming to the fore a bit. And food is medicine since, Hippocrates and that fantastic tradition that is in the Ayurvedic tradition in India. There's always looked at food as medicine and prescribed it accordingly. Whether that time's going to come back, I'm hopeful that this virus and the fear of the virus mutating and coming out will push people to, well, how do you on a daily basis defend yourself? Well, is it through a vaccine? Well, if the virus mutates, the vaccine will not be applicable. And the one thing about your immune system is built to and designed to deal with a mutating virus. So as it mutates in your system on a minute by minute basis, your immune system keeps recreating killer cells to track it down, and the virus keeps trying to hide itself while it's in your body. And that entire immune system is completely dependent on food. Completely dependent. It can't operate without vitamin and mineral resources that you store in your liver, your kidneys, your heart, and your bloodstream. Whether that message I'm hoping it will get amplified.
Me too. Actually, I approached a few restaurant owners with the suggestion, to start delivering meals full of nutrients that will help people to support their immune system. And one of the chefs actually told me that I should be ashamed of myself proposing the idea that food can help with, to fight this virus.
We're getting that all the time on Facebook. We're giving away a free cookbook. Obviously, the site's free to use. And we're being, you're exploiting we have a cookbook about how to support your immune system with recipes, immune boosting recipes. And we get more criticism than we get support, which is, again, it seems to show this sort of innate, I think the quote I always use is, it's easier to fool people than to convince people they've been fooled. And I think we've been fooled over the decades. I've been fooled throughout my life that, you know, fat's bad for you and all this sort of stuff. And that food is really just fuel. It's just fuel so that you can have some energy. It completely ignores the phenomenal complexity of our bodies and our brains and their absolute requirement and inextricably linked to our food chain and food supply. But there just seems to be a real reaction every time, like the reaction you got from the restaurateur. We're getting it all the time on Facebook. And we try and be polite back when we get accused and say, look, we're not making any money out of this. We're not charging anything. This is just advice, and it's based on absolutely sound, peer-reviewed science. We're not claiming any health benefits that aren't sanctioned by the European Food Safety Authority and by the British government and by the Russian government and by the American government, etc. So, you know, if people want to take governmental advice, the health benefits of food is part of governmental advice. Same way as social distancing or wearing a mask or all these other good things that need to be practiced. Social distancing is interestingly described as another immune system. So you have your personal immune system, then you have a societal immune system, which by distancing stops the virus jumping and then therefore becomes another immune system. So the combination to our minds of that and food, you've got a really good recipe for bringing a virus under control.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And again, it just hurts me sometimes that a lot of authorities and just different people believe that and express that opinion that, you know, food doesn't matter for our immune system, forgetting that we are built from our foods and nutrients that in our food. Let's get a little bit more practical now and share with people more information, knowledge, especially practical knowledge and advice about what kind of nutrients they might focus on, and specific foods that have those nutrients that help our immune system to function at its best.
Yeah, I mean, number one, and this is backed up by a lot of experts actually saying this, is vitamin D from sunshine. Now, if you're in a part of the world that doesn't have sunshine, you may need to look at foods which will be oily fish. There's a great thing that's just come out in this country, which is mushrooms that have been treated under UV light. The skin of a mushroom is very similar to our skin, and it synthesizes vitamin D under UV light. So there's chestnut mushrooms now in the supermarket which a portion of will give you 2 days worth of vitamin D, which is amazing if you're a vegan or vegetarian, for example. Obviously, things like mackerel, sardines, salmon. Wild salmon has 4 times the vitamin D of farm salmon that eats the vitamin D rich plankton. Or sunshine, you literally only need 15 minutes a day without sun cream. If you put sun cream on, it stops you synthesizing vitamin D. But you don't have to risk getting burnt. You just go out 15 minutes between 11 and 3 in the northern hemisphere. It'll be less on the equator and the southern hemisphere. But that's from an expert called Dr. Michael Horlick, who's the world's leading expert on vitamin D synthesis. So that's number one, really. It's free, sunshine. There you go. And we're now approaching, it's from April onwards in the northern hemisphere that the vitamin D really starts to synthesize well. And that you only need to expose your arms and face. You don't have to go and put a bikini on or swimming trunks. You can just literally expose. So my mother is 90. I speak to her every day. She's in a retirement village. And she is literally spending 15 minutes every day with her arms out to get that. So because vitamin D, unlike other vitamins, it works more like a hormone. It interacts with all bodily systems. So that's number one. And if you go on to check your food and just put vitamin D in, you'll get the food's highest, and you can filter that by vegan or vegetarian.
You know, sorry to interrupt, my favorite food for vitamin D, and I think it's vitamin D superfood, cod liver.
Yes, cod liver oil, absolutely. And cod liver itself, because you told this to me before, you can actually buy cod liver in your part of the world, can't you?
Yeah, in a small can.
Yeah. So yeah, cod liver, absolutely. I forgot cod liver oil because that's vitamin A as well.
Yeah.
You get double bubble. Vitamin A is another major immune system, vital for the immune system and combating infection. The other one that everyone's really banging on about is vitamin C, which brings up a whole bag of worms, can of worms. Because is it synthetic vitamin C or is it natural vitamin C? We would always argue that natural vitamin C is a biological mechanism rather than ascorbic acid, which is just a chemical. So natural vitamin C, the number one ingredient for natural vitamin C is acerola cherry juice, which is a Jamaican cherry, which you can buy on the internet quite readily. And you only need a teaspoon 3 times a day to get double your RDA for vitamin C. The thing with vitamin C is it doesn't like megadosing. Your body doesn't like a huge amount of vitamin C because it's toxic in high levels. So your body will simply pass it straight through, which is why these supplements that have 2 grams of vitamin C rather than 100 milligrams, you're just processing it straight through to avoid toxicity. And also, if you eat an orange, for example, or whatever, it's not just vitamin C. You've got a whole load. You've got thiamine, you've got B vitamins, you've got phytochemicals, all working together to form a biological mechanism rather than just a chemical. So we've got both our mothers who are in their late 80s and 90s, all my family, because a lot of them have had it, on asafoetida cherry juice. It's really simple, and space it out through the day. Don't just drink a load down, because your body won't absorb it. So I have a teaspoon in the morning, a teaspoon in the evening.
Okay.
That's a really simple one. Bit of sunshine, bit of cherry juice, or if you go, say for orange juice, you just want a glass that big, not a glass this big, not like half a pint. You just want a quarter of a pint, because again, your body won't absorb all the vitamin C in it. So those are the 2 like big ones.
What's your take on bell pepper? Like my favorite one is red bell pepper.
Yeah, well, that's another fantastic source of vitamin C and beta carotene as well. So vitamin A. So you get, so there are some ingredients, and if you go through check your food, you'll see some ingredients have got all of them. All the livers, for example, lamb's liver, calf's liver, is packed with copper, folate, iron, selenium, vitamin A. Just hasn't got D, or I don't think it's got B6 that much either, is it? But that's a powerhouse. So I eat chicken liver pate. A little tiny bit that I make myself from organic chicken livers, which are readily available in supermarkets now, and we eat that sort of every other day, or just a small amount, because there's so much in it. Yeah. Especially because we're working with homeless at the minute, so we're quite exposed as we go out doing food deliveries. So we make sure that we've got a bit of chicken liver pate going, some cherry juice, a bit of sunshine, and all the other ones, just so that if we do contract it, our immune system, our adaptive immune system, because it has to get past your innate immune system, your skin, your sweat, etc. Once it's got past that, it's into your system, and then your adaptive immune system has to click in as quickly as possible to avoid the spread to the lungs, to avoid the pneumonic, and which can then result in organ failure as well. And that requires a very quick acting immune system, and the way to make your immune system act most speedily is to have the nutrients on hand in your body already. Because we just don't know. The complexities are so enormous. Bear in mind, your immune system throws away 95% of the cells it creates to attack a virus because they're not good enough. It takes so many resources. So every 100 killer cells it's created, 95 of them are thrown away by the thymus because they're not quite perfect enough, and they may attack our healthy cells. See what I mean? So the immune system's doing this all day, every day anyway, constantly combating. If you bring in a virus that is potentially fatal, as this is, then the immune system has to fly into action, but it can't go too fast because it may kill you by creating cells that kill healthy cells. And that's really where our recommendation, and it's just advice, is ensure a steady supply of these. It's really 10 key nutrients with the foods you like and the foods that you're compatible with. And I'm drinking a pint of lager. That's great for the immune system. It's full of B6. Hops are full of vitamin B6. Another immune system boost. B6. It's the hops that lager's brewed from, beer is brewed from, are full of vitamin B6. Yeah. And because I'm on lockdown, I can't go out. I thought I'd have a beer while I chatted to you. So it's really as simple as that. You just look for the foods that contain copper, folate, copper. Mushrooms, again, great for copper. So if you've got the UV treated mushrooms, you get the copper and the vitamin D. Folate, obviously you need to eat quite a lot of green stuff to get it, but asparagus, great. The asparagus season starts this week, I think. It does in this country anyway. Vitamin A, obviously, vitamin A, preformed vitamin A, retinol, is different to beta carotene, as in you don't have to pre-process it, whereas beta carotene has to be processed into vitamin A by your liver. And the ratio, there's a lot of disagreement about the ratio of the preformed vitamin A. I mean, double cream, cheese, liver, But if you're vegetarian or vegan, then you need to be looking at carrots and all the beta carrot or red peppers. Things like goji berries. The reason that goji berries are denoted as a superfood is they are incredibly high in beta carotene. So you only need like a bit like the acerola cherry juice, a teaspoon of goji berries if you don't like carrots or you don't like bell peppers. So there's always a food you can choose, and it's quite easy once you get familiar with the foods. I mean, in the early days of doing this, I used to just eat anything that was good for me. And consequently, one, it can be very unpalatable, tasteless, and I was having reactions. So I have a reaction to tomatoes, for example, and I have a reaction to pulses. I really don't process them well at all. And I was going to pulses to get my folate. So I just switched back to foods that I was compatible with. And that's really the journey with your body and your mental health, because micronutrients are critical for mental health as well. On that journey is to find the foods that you find most compatible. And if you're advising a friend, just say, well, go and check your food and look. If you look for foods high in selenium, if you don't want to eat fish, which is high in selenium, then eat Brazil nuts. And that's really what it's all about. So there is a blog on Check Your Food. So the top 10, as a vegan one, there's the top 10 foods, and there's the top 10 foods. So we've got soya mince, for example, fantastic for immune system nutrients. Crab, salmon, spinach, sweet potato, beef and lamb, red meat for zinc. One of the things that vegans struggle with is zinc, which we're quite careful with. Zinc is critical for the immune system. It's critical for a whole load of processes. For the immune system.
Even I personally find zinc a little bit difficult to eat on a consistent basis because it's not present in many foods.
No, I mean, if you go to zinc on the site, on Food's Highest, I think if I go to vegetarian, if you're a meat eater, it's easier, the red meat eater, because beef and...
I also eat oysters,
Oysters are absolutely packed with zinc. The thing about zinc is your body doesn't really store that much. So it's a regular input thing, whereas iron, vitamin A, vitamin B12 are stored for up to years in your liver. Zinc is not one of those, doesn't fall into that category. But if you're a vegetarian, for zinc, corn, the meat substitute corn, mycoprotein, is probably your best supply, and buckwheat. Buckwheat's quite high.
Quite actually in my region, in Russia especially.
Yeah, do you grow buckwheat there?
I think so. It's everywhere. It's like one of the people's favorite staple for dinners, lunches.
Oh, is it? Right. It's kind of a health food shop ingredient here. You can buy buckwheat pasta, or my wife made a loaf of bread with buckwheat the other week. Pure buckwheat. We didn't mix it with anything else, which it's edible, but it's a little on the bitter end. Again, you can experiment.
No, people usually, here it's like rice in India. Like people really love it. Yeah, and the people usually fry it with vegetables, carrots, meat, also liver with buckwheat. Tastes quite nice.
Yeah, because that's quite bitter, isn't it, with liver and buckwheat. Crab, one of my favorites, is high in zinc, copper, and selenium. Spinach is probably, of all the greens, the most super. It's so high in I tell you what's mostly high in is vitamin K, which is not an immune system booster, but it's also high in lutein and zeaxanthin, but it's also great for folate, beta carotene, and iron. And the thing about spinach is if you cook it down, it goes to a tablespoon of spinach could have like 90 grams of spinach. It literally goes down. So when we had the kids at home, we used to liquidize it and put it in the gravy, so they didn't even know they were eating it. Because kids are like, oh, I'm not eating that. So we just liquidize it, and you can't tell. So if you've got children, you want to get this into them, liquidize.
What about cooking? Doesn't do you destroy any of the nutrients, or like how much of the nutrients?
I mean, the great thing about fat soluble nutrients like vitamin K, they're not affected very much by cooking at all. The thing that's really, the vitamins that are really affected by cooking are what's called the labile vitamins. So folate is very sensitive to heat. Vitamin C is sensitive to heat. Thiamine is sensitive to heat. Minerals, again, aren't massively affected. So your zinc, magnesiums, irons, they're pretty solid. On Check Your Food, you can apply cooking methods and see what the change is. So I'm just going to look in a portion of spinach, 80-gram portion of spinach, 128 micrograms of folate. What if you boil it? Will drop considerably to 96. All right, so it's about a 30% drop. Mm-hmm. The great thing about spinach is you hardly need to cook it, and you can eat it raw. But if you want to reduce it down, just wilt it. We use frozen spinach a lot. It's already chopped. Mm-hmm. You just pop it in the microwave or pop it in a pan, and away you go. And a little tiny ball, size smaller than a golf ball, is about 40 grams, and it literally goes down to a couple of teaspoons. Mm-hmm. So that will be my advice on the green side of things. Obviously, broccoli is all very good. Just looking down, this is Suria's soy mince. Any of the defatted soya flours are packed with B vitamins, and that's good for copper, iron, folate, and B6. Salmon, salmon for vitamin D, selenium, B6 as well.
Herring is also very high in vitamin D.
Yes, I was just looking up. I was just going to come to that because that's a really cheap food. It is in this country anyway.
Here too.
Yeah, because it's not popular. It's not. It's popular in Scandinavia.
Yeah, here it's actually popular. People love it.
Yeah. So basically, a very small fillet of herring, and again, vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, so it won't be that affected by cooking. Is well over your RDA. It's 20 micrograms. And I don't think the cooking, if I grill it, minimal effect, goes down to about 18. So yeah, actually what's happening during lockdown here, because we obviously, Brighton is a fishing town, or was a fishing town, the town down the road is a fishing town, and they've got a glut of fish because the restaurants aren't buying it. Mm-hmm. So the price has plummeted for fish, which is not good for the fishermen, but it's good if you want to. And the other thing with herring you can do, of course, is you can pickle it. So as a fish, pickles, yeah.
Actually, here, what people really love is pickled herring with potatoes.
I do as well. It's very big in Scandinavia as well, isn't it? Yeah, nice. So that's herring, but any of those oily fish, herring, mackerel, sprats we have in this country, new season sprats are all amazing. A lot of mackerel fishing goes on out here in the channel. Some mackerels. I mean, I buy tinned mackerel because it's so simple and it's unbelievably cheap. And you can get it in like a mustard sauce or tomato sauce, bung it on toast, and away you go. Sardines, obviously, again, as well. The highest vitamin D, I think, might well be the herring.
Yeah, herring. I think after cod liver.
Obviously, cod liver is very high. Eel's very high. But yeah, mackerel and herring are on a kind of par, which is great. Well, I eat a lot of kippers, smoked herring. Mm-hmm. Brought up on them really. But cod liver oil, I mean, you only need a tiny amount for an entire day's supply of cod liver oil, just a tiny teaspoon, and that will be for vitamin D and for vitamin A.
Yeah, and quite high in omega-3 fatty acids.
Very high. Not much of an interaction between omega-3 and the immune system, but we don't know, to be honest. It's not enough research gone into that. It may well interact because the immune system's so all-embracing. Well, I mean, it's really fun. Oh, no, it is. A legitimate health claim is immune system boosting. Yes, and heart, brain, and normal blood pressure as well. Oh, right, okay. Yeah, there is some research that points to omega-3. That's good. So is that enough for you, or do you want some more on?
I think that's enough for most people. Oh, I think the last couple of questions, actually, I want to ask you. What's your overall take on supplements compared to whole foods? You already started with that, like vitamin C, also vitamin D, vitamin A. Some people just want to take a multivitamin and be done with that.
Yeah, the problem with the multivitamin is where's it come from? what's chemistry has gone into it. Is it synthetic, completely synthetic? It may be a mixture of synthetic vitamins with natural minerals in a combination that you never find in nature. The combination is the problem. It's just not, it just isn't in nature. Therefore, we've not evolved to know how to process it. So that's with the multivitamins, that they're fraught with problems. There's a lot of science now that points to them really not being, at best, harmless and don't do anything, and at worst, actually quite damaging. I think supplementation definitely applies to vitamin D, particularly if it's naturally sourced vitamin D, because it acts quite independently of other vitamin mechanisms. So vitamin D supplements. Other than that, I would look at what we call natural supplements, which would be things like acerella, cherry juice, cod liver oil. They're kind of natural supplements. Wheat germ oil for vitamin E, etc. So there is a blog on Should We Take Supplements on Check Your Food as well. And any nutrient in isolation doesn't exist in nature. No nutrient exists in isolation. So taking it in pill form in isolation, one, you might be megadosing, so taking far too much. And two, all the mechanisms that surround a vitamin normally in a food matrix, with all kinds of other cofactors and enzymes and synergies with other vitamins, you've lost. So to avoid getting into an argument with people about supplements, I just say, look, they can't be anywhere near as powerful. They simply can't be, because they won't have a synergistic effect. They're also not buffered by a food matrix. So the vitamins and minerals that you've got in a vegetable or meat product or egg or whatever is buffered by fats, carbohydrates, proteins. So it's not hitting your body just as a pure vitamin. It's hitting your body with a whole load of other nutrients that your body has evolved to deal with and knows how to separate it out, and the action that happens in the lower intestine and everything else to get those vitamins into the right place in the right amounts. So there's a lot of senior scientists that would say supplements are really a no-no outside of vitamin D, probably is the only recommended supplement, because so many people are short of sunshine, and people that have moved to the northern hemisphere from the southern hemisphere suddenly get into problems. So I do take a lichen extract. Check the provenance of it. It's on the site. It's called Vita Shine. I check their science. I check their the actual analysis of it, and it's vitamin D3, and it comes from lichen. I know that there is now a vegan omega-3 EPA DHA that comes from algae. Yeah. So in the supplement market, there's some great stuff going on, but the cheap, ones that are just knocked out on the shelf saying, oh, it's got all the B vitamins and all this and all that, is full of synthetic versions of vitamins, not vitamins themselves. They've not been extracted carefully from a piece of broccoli and then put into a pill. And if you look at human evolution, these pills only came into existence in the mid-60s. We've been going an awful long time with natural food. So we don't want to get into an argument about it. We just put the information out and say, look, here's the information so far. They may be okay as a short-term solution if you're starting in a starvation situation. I know during the war, people boiled nails to get iron. That was a short-term solution. But you wouldn't want to do that for the rest of your life, or take the iron in that form, because it may have a long-term negative effect. So you want the synergy of natural food, the synergy of all the vitamins and minerals working together, and the buffering of the carbs, fats, and proteins. And that's what your body's used to. That's what your body responds to. I think when I used to take supplements, big ones back in the day before I got into the science, it was just a kind of, one, I could be lazy. Oh, I'll just take that, I'll be fine. Not really focusing on how your body really works in relation to food. And it was kind of to give myself a full sense of security. Like, well, I'm getting all those nutrients, therefore I can just eat burgers and do whatever, or all the burgers are good, or not eat at all. So it's a tricky one, because I know in situations of starvation that they may well be the first port of call, particularly on mineral supplementation, because minerals are more in isolation than vitamins in the food matrix, they're metals. But you can very easily overdose. I mean, iron, for example, is highly toxic. So the safest bet is to go with what's natural, because that's your body's inextricably linked to the natural processes that go on around us in the food chain. So that's our yeah, there's a lot of data out. I'm just looking at the blog. There's quite a lot of data that isn't good about supplements, these multivitamin supplements.
Yeah.
I'll leave your audience to check that out.
Yeah. For me personally, you know, I look at my food as my supplement. Like, yeah. I'm just always trying to make sure that I'm getting everything I need from the foods. And that's what I usually, you know, recommend to people, unless there is like specific situation why they can't eat certain food with essential nutrients.
Yeah, I think for vegans, obviously there's B12 supplementation, and that's another one. You get the one that's like most naturally produced. Also, B12 supplementation is also necessary even for meat eaters if they've got gastric problems or gastric juice problems, because it's so tightly bound in the protein matrix. A lot of people get B12 deficiency who do eat very high B12 diets, either from taking too many antacids. You know, those prescription antacids will stop you breaking B12. So we would recommend to anyone, if they've got a gastric problem, or if they're vegan, obviously, to supplement with B12. So it's kind of two, isn't it? Vitamin D and B12, legitimate supplementation. But you have to drill down into where they're coming from, how they're produced, because the B12 supplements should be synthesized by bacteria, because that's how it is in the animal gut. And the vitamin D should come from a natural source, like lichen or fish or UV treated mushrooms.
Yeah. The last question that I have for you is, what are some of your favorite meals that are just packed with those nutrients important for our immune system?
Well, obviously, because we're British, the British roast dinner is probably the most nutritious meal on the planet because it has so much in it. So you've got a good organic meat. We'll probably let's go with we're having guinea fowl tomorrow. I'll go with beef. All right. So we're saying to go with the traditional one, roast beef. Where is roast? Oh, there it is. And because on our roast dinner, because we have so much gravy sauce, we just kids eat it because you cover everything in gravy. So you get your broccoli and your peas, your carrots, Swede mash, roast potatoes. Most potatoes are fantastic. Potatoes are generally fantastic. And then a meat like a beef. You've got your zincs, your irons. Yeah, I mean, you're off the chart with a roast dinner. I think the closest meal to it is Singapore chili crab. It's another favourite of mine. Again, because the crab is you're eating the whole animal. You're eating the liver, the heart, the lungs, and the meat. You just leave the dead man's fingers. So any of those complete meals that involve a lot of an animal or seafood. And I think on the vegan side, what was the vegan top one?
The vegan chili, because it's made half with soy and half with green lentils.
Oh yeah, there's a vegan chili on the site, which is because we have vegan friends, which is a mixture of soy protein, TVP, and lentils. So then you've got double bubble because you've got an awful lot of selenium and that sort of thing in the lentils. You've got B vitamins in the soy protein. But for me, whenever I'm asked by a journalist, I always say roast dinner, followed by Singapore chili crab, because they are really.
Vegan.
You'll find any meal that combines multiple ingredients in good quantities, good amount of potatoes, good amount of broccoli, good amount of carrot, and a good amount of a good meat or a nut alternative. A nut roast is fantastic, because the combination of nuts, all with different, walnuts, Brazil nuts, peanuts, cashew nuts, some of which aren't actually nuts, they're legumes. I'm looking at, again, packed with iron, copper, phosphorus, manganese. Yeah, B6 again as well. So if you combine a nut roast with roast potatoes and a load of veg, again, it's kind of the equivalent of the meat. It's not bad for zinc, actually, on that. So really, the best meals are the combination meals. I mean, a curry is amazingly good for you because curry powder is such a huge quantity of powdered seeds, really, cumin, coriander. So you're getting loads of iron, and that's non-heme iron, which is much more easily absorbed by the body because it's slower The bioavailability is less. If you eat too much red meat, you may get too much iron. So if I eat a steak, I only eat a 4-ounce steak. I don't eat an 8-ounce one because it's a waste of time, really. So that will be, that will be our advice. The combination. If you can think of any other meals, love.
Top 10 meals.
Oh, top 10 meals. Hang on, I'm just looking at did you do top 10 meals?
No, the book, isn't it?
Oh no, yeah. The cook. How do you get the cookbook?
Just go on the website and download it.
Where is it?
It's on the. It's on Facebook.
Oh, it's on Facebook, is it?
Yeah, I'm taking it off the website. We can put it back on.
We've got a cookbook that actually all our favourite meals are in, and the specific cookbook at the minute is the immune system cookbook, which is on Facebook at the minute, on our Facebook. Isn't it?
But we'll put it on the front page.
And we could put it on the front page of the website as well, and that's got every meal there. It's got pretty much every single immune system nutrient.
We'll have everything.
Yeah, every single immune system nutrient in every meal.
Not in every.
Amazing. So I'm gonna check out the link and post it also.
Yeah, Facebook. It's on.
It's not every single thing in every meal.
Yes, all right, love it. Is it at Check Your Food to the Facebook? Can't remember what our Facebook address is.
Check your food nutrition, I think it is.
We never know what our Facebook is. Just go check the Facebook.
Check your food nutrition.
Check your food nutrition.
Yeah.
I'm not big on the socials. I don't really interact with them.
Yeah,
Check your food.
big on Instagram. I'm trying to actually develop more what I call culinary nutrition.
Angela, what I'll do, my wife just told me we'll send you the link. Yeah.
Yeah.
The cookbook, because it's free and that's what we're getting all the criticism for on Facebook. Send Angela the link, which is quite extraordinary. Surya, my wife, she deals with all the criticisms. Snarling like this. Send her a link to the cookbook. Yeah.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry, that's my wife.
Yeah, right. Nice to meet you.
My voice in the background, you can hear going, so beef.
Yeah, because I'll tell you why the nut roast is so good, because it's a combination of mushrooms, nuts, lentils as well, and an egg. So that's why that's so good. So you can look up the link and send it to Angela. I've got
Yeah,
it.
I will do. I'm just going to look at the book now.
But if you have a checkyourfood.com account, there's a free for life account on there. You can analyze your recipes for immune system boosting nutrients as well. And so it's quite interesting. Some of my favorite recipes are rubbish, and some of them are really, really amazingly good because you just don't know. Do you know what I mean? What the combination of ingredients.
What I usually actually do, I first, before cooking, before starting eating, I put everything in Check My Food and check your food. Then I decide what to add and what to, I should eliminate or not to worry.
We've got 320 recipes in our Check Your Food account, me and Surya, for covering absolutely everything. And Surya takes a picture of them all as well. Most of them. So yes, I mean it's actually a lot simpler than people think. You just have to apply yourself a little bit. We call it the astute use of ordinary food. You don't have to buy superfoods. It's all ordinary food. It's all readily available, and it's all packed with nutritive power. You know what I mean? It's packed with health benefits, life support. It's a life support system, basically.
Yeah.
And obviously, you're in the middle of a pandemic. It pays to to wear a face mask if you're out and about working, but also to monitor your diet. And I find it fun because it's interesting to me. I didn't realize that crabs were so nutritious. I didn't realize that lentils were so nutritious. I didn't realize that curry powder was so nutritious. All these ordinary things.
I think that where it's confusing for a lot of people is that a lot of most of the processed food and all these packaged products, they are really nutritionally empty, and we have so many of them, and that's where people get lost. Like all these.
I mean, some of them are nutritionally sort of okay, but the problem is the processing has probably brought a whole load of other chemicals into it. So that heavy processing of white flour, for example. So a pizza could be quite nutritious, but you just imbibed a whole load of bleached flour, which in this country has synthetic vitamins put back into it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the bread and flour regulations. The full English breakfast comes up really well as well. Bacon, eggs, beans, tomatoes, mushrooms. Yeah, wholemeal bread. Yeah, so yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, if you're going to buy bread, go wholemeal or sourdough wholemeal spelt, and try and limit, especially the so many. I mean, I had some peanut butter on a sandwich this morning. I didn't read the label. It's got so much sugar in it. They're just adding loads of sugar. I was like, well, why are you doing that for? So again, the peanut butters, look for the natural one, and try and pair, because really the added sugar and added high fructose corn syrup that's in so much of these processed meals is it's detracting from the nutrition that is there. So for example, I always say to people, if you buy a battery farmed egg, it has detoxifying ingredients in it and chemicals and nutrients in it. However, you're going to have to use half of them to detoxify the fact that it's been industrially produced, and it's probably full of antibiotics. Mm-hmm. So, and anything intensively farmed, meat-wise, will be full of antibiotics. The World Health Organization have warned. They've said this whole rise of ADHD and a whole load of conditions in young people is very likely linked to the level of antibiotic they're getting on a daily basis, which is impacting their gut health. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, food is great, but as you rightly point out, the process, and you could argue antibiotics is part of the food processing chain, because they have to keep jacking the animals full of it because they're in such close proximity. So we always advise, if you're going to buy meat, eat less of it and buy organic, because especially if you've got children. When we had the kids, we never fed them intensively farmed meat, because it seems to be young people that are more susceptible to that antibiotic overload as they're developing, I guess, the microbiome's developing. Yeah. And that will also impact your immune system, obviously.
Yeah. So anyhow, I'm gonna let you go. Thank you, Matt, again for so much information, especially all the recipe suggestions and yeah, just a lot of information and for people's bodies and immune systems and also minds to think about and
yes,
and apply, of course, to improve the health of our immune system and whole body.
Yes, absolutely, and it's not just your immune system; it's your mental health and your overall physical health as well, which is important. Brilliant. Yeah. Well, thank you, Angela. Thank you so much.